Hello, my name is Zach, and I am doing Ecology of a Cracker Childhood. I would have had this video done sooner, but with the winter weather, everything has been crazy. I'm an RA, so dealing with that, I've had to take up desk shifts, helping with duty, stuff like that. It has been a terrible week here at the university, but I apologize sincerely for not having this up sooner. I will not delay anymore. I'm recording this at like 12:30 at night when I have to be up at 8 to cover a shift the next morning, but I'm here. I wanted to get this done before the weekend. But yes, Ecology of a Cracker Childhood. This was a really enjoyable book for me to read. I'll go ahead and discuss my thoughts. I really liked kind of the contradiction it had to the previous books from its perspectives. Janice Ray obviously is a very different person from the cast of Deliverance. These white men from the city would probably try and sleep with Janice Ray had they crossed paths with her. Who knows? Or they would have just called her like a hillbilly. Maybe both. Um, I have my notes on my laptop. I tried recording this on my laptop, but it would not let me do that and have my notes up at the same time. So if you see me like look and scroll, and you're gonna see like my eye, like in my glasses, my reflection, I apologize sincerely. My thoughts, however, like I said, the shared contradiction. This novel explores poverty as a deciding factor in one's views of the world and how it shapes the world we lived in. I grew up in probably what can be considered poverty, so it was really interesting to see a perspective that I have common ground with, especially being a white individual in the South, not quite rural Georgia, but a similar vibe. Um, it also strongly discusses mental illness and what happens when you neglect these mental illnesses. These are some themes that I like personally. I hate to say enjoy, but it's interesting nonetheless. Um, we see this in Janice Ray's father, who had numerous issues, so many. I will touch on later when I discuss the plot. He is an empathetic man, but his children are scared of him. I have family members like that. The theme of also, I really like the theme of nature and its preservation. Arkansas, the natural state, it means a lot to me. Um, I I mean, we can see this throughout in what is probably my favorite scene because it was just hilarious to me that Janice was actually just found in the woods as a baby rather than like natural birth. Like her father just happened to go out to the fence. I believe it was thinking she was a sheep. I don't have that written down. But yes, so there's some so general information. Author Janice Ray. The characters, one of them being Ray, Mama and Daddy, and then Janice Ray's grandfather would be Charles. It's set in rural South Georgia. Specific name and city I'll get into in a minute. It's a memoir of sorts, kind of like a dramatized retelling, with central themes of, as I mentioned, damages of mental illness, child neglect, and preservation of nature. I apologize for being a hand talker. But yes, here we go. Sorry, I have to switch for my notes. I sincerely apologize, and I am not good enough to edit these out. I'm already at 3 minutes. I'm not sure how long you want these to be. I can absolutely re-upload them if you need me to. I have to move on. Anyways, in the memoir Ecology of a Cracker Childhood, Janice Ray, she describes like growing up in rural Georgia. It's kind of a series of like short chapters, and it's really fascinating, the descriptions and everything. Baxley, Georgia. She is the daughter of Franklin and Lee, who refer to as Daddy and Mama. I apologize. Her father runs a junkyard business that originally was opened with Charles, who is Daddy's father, so her grandfather. Uh, Ray, Ray describes like her teenage years. She goes through everything like that. Um, I particularly enjoyed the representation of Daddy and how he was presented as such a complex individual. Like I said, he has mental illnesses. He's frugal. He's wonderfully like technically smart, as many Southerners are. And that's another thing that I didn't even mention is that Southerners, we may lack some book learning, as the people from the North might call us. However, we make up for it with technical ingenuity, common sense, living off the land, etc., etc. He's a deeply kind man. He cares for hurt individuals. He brings people in, but he's scary, like in the most simplest senses. He's strict. He's religious, and religious trauma is another central and deep meaning in this uh, passage. She also goes into depth into some of her other family members, her paternal grandmother Clio, and again, religious family, religious trauma. Their stay-at-home mothers, like the religious church, is always expected, and as we all know, religion is incredibly important to the South. But another thing that's important to the South is nature. The long leaf pine forest. I apologize. It's dwindling. It's dying. I had actually never heard of this before. Um, yes, it's truly an incredible piece. I have to move my camera again. I apologize. Let's see. And then if we keep going, let's see. I apologize. I had to pause. As we can see further on in the novel, Ray would delve deeper and deeper into daddy's issues. He's an incredibly talented man. However, he has his issues, and like with machinery, the scene that like really exemplifies this is he's at a gun show with one of his friends, and while he's there, he lost control of his body. He's hallucinating. It's alluded to that he was drugged, but we never quite get that confirmation. And could it be mental illness? Could it have been drugging? There could be an argument for an underlying theme of like drug addiction in the South, as we know, especially in states like Georgia. And while those are generally speaking people of color communities, or primarily people of color communities, it still affects white America and the poor community as much as it does just, it's a multiracial issue rather than just a person of color only issue, although not to say that the two were equally affected. And continuing that kind of description of poverty, she describes their attempt to save money in any way imaginable, stereotypes for 50-cent refund. And to continue with about poverty, however, Janice Ray would also continue to discuss people poorer than her, neighbors who would have only or no electricity, no water, and what baffles me in that it wasn't provided. But again, it's all interwoven. Here we see Daddy caring for them and helping them despite being like not complete strangers, but not being his family, and his family not having much. Like, it's incredible to see somebody so bipolar. Like, that is, I'm no psychiatrist, but that is what I would see him as. And yes. Sorry, I had to pause again. So, as we continue on this novel, we find the Altamaha River. I've had trouble saying that all along. It's a large river, and it captivates Ray. Her parents, they went on a boat ride. The boat capsized. Ray falls in the water. Her father manages to save her. Another instance of him being, while of course any father would try and save their child, but it's another instance of the compassion that he can show and how deeply he cares for his children. But yes, and again, he would go on to save his brother Steve. He's so afraid of losing his children, losing his loved ones. This is trauma. This is PTSD. This is another one of his mental illnesses that we discussed earlier. Like, it's also interwoven. He guards his children like a hawk. I believe described exactly like a warden on page 227 I have written down. He's so worried about losing them that he squeezes them out, and when Ray goes to leave, he can't handle it. He's, deep down he's losing it. I want to talk about a quote that I felt was very important. I'm not sure there's a certain sort of model you want for these videos. If I miss anything important, please email me and I will make a whole new video. I know it's already late, but I will do it, I promise you. I feel bad. And on page 33, however, we see turning back to embrace the past has been a long, slow lesson, not only in self-esteem, but in patriotism, pride in homeland heritage. It has taken a decade to whip the shame, to mispronounce words, and shun grammar when mispronunciation and misspeaking are a part of my dialect, to own the bad blood. It is her acknowledging the poverty she comes from, the world she comes from, the ruralness that she comes from, that I personally think made this book possible. If you don't recognize this, you cannot write a book on it, of course. Otherwise, it's just a normal day of life, and it is something that I personally identify with growing up in not rural Arkansas, but definitely it had the same energy. My town was like 20,000 some odd people, so I cannot particularly say it was puny, nothing similar to that of this town that she grew up in. But I thought it was fantastic still, and it struck to me, especially in my experience in college, seeing the big world out there I've gotten to travel, and it has meant a lot to me. So I'm very thankful to be here. I'm also very thankful to be in this class, like to read books like this. I appreciate the ecology side of it. I've always taken a pride in Arkansas. I've always taken a pride in our natural history, and seeing a class dedicated to nature of the South has been fantastic, because not to say that college necessarily dunks on the South, it definitely feels like we are the butt of the joke, and often well deserved. But it is nice to see some praise and to see some recognition of the beauty and awe. And I think that is a central theme of this book, is that nature is here, you will not overcome it, man will coincide with it, and it's kind of the central theme of deliverance. So that's a way to tell. I apologize for just constantly referencing the books. I just really love how intertwined they are and their perspectives. I think they're somehow two sides of the same coin, I guess you could say. But I definitely think it was a good idea to have them read back to back in this class. But that is all I have, I believe. I watched some of Cassie's to determine what needed to be done. I apologize if this is running on long. I have a tendency to ramble. I also force myself to slow down because I'm a very fast talker, and it gets not unlegible, but unhearable, I guess you could say, indistinguishable. So yes, I can further delve into any topic. I can further discuss anything you need me to, but I appreciate your time, and I sincerely apologize for getting this in so late. Any points will be greatly appreciated, as anything is obviously better than a 0. While I have a fairly good grade in this class, I would like to keep it that way. I will upload it to YouTube and email you the link, although you already know that because you just clicked on the link.